Okay, it's been a while since I did one of these, and I honestly forgot about Javid. Okay, so let's talk about Javid and where he is good at and his strengths and weaknesses, all that kind of stuff. And of course, as always, I will share this spreadsheet and Brewster as well, these two experts who we will talk about in today's video. I will share it on my Google Drive. I'll leave the links down in the descriptions below. You can go ahead and download a copy so that you can actually use these checkboxes over here. Now, there are no viruses to it, okay? I promise you. Alright, so let's start off with Javid. Shamash, Strengths, AoE King, Self-Cleanse, AoE Defense Break. And his main weakness is his Self-Cleanse is unfortunately only happening during his turn. So the thing is, if he's stunned, he's actually not going to cleanse himself. And the thing is, he needs to attack while he has Sacred Flame. So if he's stunned, if he's taunted, all that kind of stuff, he's actually not going to get out of it. Not even at like R6 or whatever that was. Yeah, R6, the change here, Eternal Light, now dispels all debuffs instead of dot effect. So someone actually tested an R6 Javid and provided me with this information. Okay, so where is he good at? I'm just going to skip like the basic stuff. Now, in terms of Chronos, APAP, and Fafnir, he is actually quite good in APAP right now because the devs actually fixed his skills. So the thing is, Judgment Seal, previously if you attack an AoE attack, right, let's say use your second or your third skill, the main priority target will never receive any of the true damage, not even the bouncing attacks from the other enemy espers. They will never ever go back to him, which is unfortunate. But right now they went ahead to change it. Yes, it still only bounces to the allies of your target, so you cannot bounce out onto the same enemy, but at least now he is viable in APAP. So if you land an AoE attack, the extra true damage will bounce back to APAP. But in all honesty, I rated him a 4 out of 5 because he has a double hit on his third skill. Now, I want you to pay attention to this, okay? So I'm going to use my third skill here. I do not have any immunities. And I am left with the poison even though I had the buff that supposedly prevents me from having debuffs, right? Because the thing is, you will get poison at the end of your attack. Plus, his third skill actually hits twice, so he's gonna get 4 stacks of poison, which means as soon as... Okay, so for example, you know, let's just get a boss to counter attack. Okay, now the boss is gonna counter attack, and we are just going to instantly lose our Javid here because he has... Okay, we almost died, okay? But you guys kind of get the idea that he is not really that great in APAP. And now, obviously, there are ways to go around this, right? To circumvent this, you can just give him the light set so that he's immune to his first attack. But I mean, come on, for an Esper like Javid, who is supposedly good for APAP, I mean, he has like disease and all that at least, he is certainly lacking a lot in the APAP sector. Now, moving on, Shadowfire, I think he's kind of decent for Shadowfire in the sense that he has AoE attack, so he's able to kill off the ads real quick. But in terms of single target damage, I don't think he carries anything good. And for Dark Starlord, I feel like he's just an average Esper. There's not much on his kit that is useful in the Dark Starlord, and he's obviously not very good in Fervor and useless in Sonica as well. Now, in terms of the tower content, I feel he's pretty decent. It's just that his animations are extremely long, which is like the main irking factor to me. But apart from that, I think he's perfectly fine. Maybe just Infinity Tower, where he's above average because his damage does scale off according to Judgment Seal, so it's very easy for you to deal a lot of damage to clear off the wave, and I think that really works out for him. But of course, there are much better DPS espers. Like, for example, Anasidora is a much better DPS esper. Or maybe even Ethan as well. I think those two espers are much better at doing DPS. Now, as for Celestial Anomaly, he is not even the best esper for the Soaring Goat, even though he was the banner esper for the Soaring Goat. In fact, I dare say that Alolan is much better at the Soaring Goat than Javid will ever be, because Javid's debuffs actually gets the hell away when you kill any one of the ads, which is like so dumb. So his uptime on his debuffs is extremely low because he does not apply the Judgment Seal on his first skill. Now let's move on to PvP, and I think in terms of Point War and Knockout, he's maybe just an average Esper. There are ways to make him work, I'm sure of it, and I can definitely make him work. Like just use a Xuanpin, for example, right? Yeah, you know, the typical Xuanpin, Ashley, Javid, just AoE nukes. That is for the most part gonna work out because you can always control the enemy Jinyu with your TF, for example. So it's very possible for you to run debuffing Espers right now. But in terms of like just general cleaving, I think he's not the best option anyway. I think Guys is still better because you're going to be consuming one role, right? You're going to be consuming one spot. So who are you going to take out in place of Javid? So that's the question. Now, in terms of wild matches, I don't think he's really that good because you don't have control. Does he have controls? Yeah, he don't have controls. He only has Seer and he lands more debuffs on his second skill. That's about it. Yeah, so I don't think he has anything in his skill kit that makes him any good at all in the warm-up matches, right? He's just a standard DPS in that sense. Alright, so all in all, let's take a look at his Esper rating. That's gonna be a B based on his R2, not even based on his R1, but he's also rated the same for his R1 because in my opinion, his R2 don't really change a lot for his kit, which is Divine Wrath. The first skill now changes the number of targets taking splash damage to 3 So he hits 4 targets when he's attacking an enemy with a debuff, which is okay, but for the most part, it is not very useful. Alright, now time for the ideal equipment sets for him. I think these are the main ones. So Wind and Fiery. Wind because you want him to take the first turn, which is why I have him slightly speedier so that he's always up ahead as opposed to the rest of my DPS espers. And of course, this is just for PvE. And another set that I think works pretty decent is an Ocean set on him so that he can cycle back into his third skill and his second skill, which are the debuff applying skills. Now in terms of PvP, I think the Wind Fiery is probably going to be the best bet, but you can also use Astro Fiery in case you want to double your AoE, but that's completely based on RNG. I wouldn't really bank on that. Alright, let's move on with the next Esper, Brewster at R0 versus R2. Okay, so this is gonna be a lot more exciting. I feel like Brewster is indeed one of the best Inferno Espers in the game right now. Like one of the best DPS Espers. Okay, so his strengths, single target nukes, assist attacks. Very simple Esper. Very, very clear cut. Everyone understands what he's set out to do and how good he is and what he is useful for. It's very easy to understand his kit, which is amazing, except for the fact that he has like self-healing and he returns debuffs to the enemies. Like, what's the... I hate this kind of complicating shit on skill kits, by the way. But okay, fine. For the most part, Brewster is still very simple. Now, his main weakness is he is absolutely stack dependent. He needs his reload attack stacks. Without it, he is pretty much worthless, or rather you need to use your normal attack until you go back into your third skill again, which has a cooldown of 4 turns, which is honestly quite long because for the most part you're gonna build him really slow, but that's obviously at R2 and above. There is a major difference between R0 and R2. You will notice it in the way I grade him accordingly. Like you will see that in R0 he actually kind of sucks in many different content, but at R2 he is amazing in many different content. Now the reason why he's not very useful below R2 is because he does not start with his reload attack stacks at all. Now why this is so important is because if you take a look at reload attack stacks, I mean aside from it dealing super good defense breaking damage, this is also a way for him to gain extra AP. So this way he can gain up to 32% AP at the start. So depending on the number of reload attack stacks that he has, when he assists, he will gain 6 times the number of reload attack stacks. So he starts off with 3, which means he gains 18% AP when one of your allies attack, and then he gains another 12% afterwards, which is 30%, did I say 32%? Plus the final third stack, which would then give him another 6% AP, which is the total of 36% AP. So just based on the initial stacks that he has, he will gain 36% AP, which is in itself extremely insane because the thing is you can run him with very low speed in PvP, and all you really need is to just have 2 AP pushes and he will most certainly gain a turn afterwards, even if he has 0 speed. So my build is pretty much similar in my PvP setup. Just absolutely no speed, full crit rate, a lot of crit damage, a lot of attack power, just want to nuke stuff up. So because he loses this value at the start, unfortunately the way that you're going to build him is also drastically different. So at R0, you do not want to build him this way. This is the wrong way to build him at R0. The way you want to build at R0 is to be super fast so that he takes an early turn to land his third skill and gain reload attack stacks via his third skill itself. So this is the main difference, and by making him super fast, clearly you have to forego some essential stats. You're going to chop off your attack power, you're going to chop off your crit damage as well. You probably don't have enough room to juggle your accuracy because a little bit of accuracy is always important. So for the most part, him at R0, really nothing much. Like, he's really not that useful. Alright, so let's skip some of this stuff here. Let's go into Sonic Miracles. I know I talked about Sonic Miracles here. He's really good in Sonic Miracles because he always has reload attack stacks. As long as he moves into a new wave, he's going to get it. So all of your attacks will always land defense breaks onto the enemy, which is why for Flow Runner, who is a flow type, he's probably not going to be that relevant. Now, moving on to Ritual Miracles, as you can see, there's a big difference between R0 and R2. So at R2, he's very good at Chronos. He's also very good at Apex because he is one of the best espers for speedrunning these content. Like, really one of the best. You will always see him used in many different speedrunning teams. And now for Desert Lands, unfortunately, he's like kind of useless in all these content because the thing is, Brewster works in a way where he really excels at the start of a fight. Like, the first 10 attacks is where he shines at the most because he has 3 stacks at the start at R2, he gains 5 stacks on his third skill here, which is a total of 8 stacks, and he gains another 2 stacks on his second skill for a total of 10 stacks. So that's why he has 10 stacks. After that, he goes onto a long cooldown phase, and he's practically not doing a lot during that time. So for the most part, I think he's not going to be very good in Desert Lands. His assist attacks is just not going to be that relevant, I would say. Maybe if you use him with Ira, he might be decent, but I think they're just better options right now. Next up for Sentinel Hunt, awesome for Ferbator. extremely good for Dark Starlord, like one of the meta espers for Dark Starlord. I don't use him there, but that's because I have other teams built. But hey, he's an excellent choice as well. Now, as for the tower content, I feel like he kinda sucks in all of the tower content because he's not an AoE esper, and I think AoE espers are just much better in that regard. But for the Calamity Island, that's where he shines a little bit more because you're limited in your choices, and for the most part, he's gonna deal really good damage, even at R0, because at the end of the day, it's up to you as the player to manually control his skill cooldowns so that he always has his skill rotation. Now, next up, we have the Sunken Viper, and for the most part, I don't think that there are any esper who is... Okay, there are two espers. There is Tever and there is Valeria. Apart from these two espers, I don't think there are any espers who are truly extremely good at Sunken Viper. The only reason why he is a 4 out of 5 is because he's a tight caller himself. But aside from that, I don't think he carries a lot for the Sunken Viper. He's just there because he's the next best option, basically. Oh, and my apologies, his R0 should be a 4 as well. Okay, now in terms of PvP, he is extremely useless at R0. Like, for you to take the first turn so that you can assist, that is extremely dumb. The fact that you already won the speed fight means you do not need Brewster at all. You can use anything else and you could perform much better without including an R0 Brewster, in my opinion. But anyway, at R2 onwards, he becomes a menace. So I've been using him at R2 for point war, and even for knockout as well, where he becomes extremely unpredictable. It's up to AI, and if you put him at a safe place, he's just gonna keep on assisting and he's just gonna deal a lot of damage. Now, this is a personal opinion, but I do feel like he has a lot of value in warm-up matches as well. But the way that you want to use him for warm-up matches is probably not going to be just straight up DPS, although it is still pretty fine. But I think the Tyranny build on him would be a lot better. So if you have some DPS Tyranny sets, I think that is going to help him a lot in warm-up matches because you want to control enemies, and his assist attacks means that for the next 10 attacks in your team, all of those attacks will be blessed with an extra chance to stun enemies, which is a big thing. Now, as for Holo Battles, enough said, he's really good, and overall his Esper rating is an S in my opinion, but truthfully speaking, I think he's a little bit closer to a double S than an S, but this is just completely based on raw calculations over here to determine the ratings based on his average across the board on like wherever he's useful and all that, right? Now, moving on to the ideal equipment set. So at R0, like I said, right, you want him to have the wind set and the light set. Now, the light set is very important because you want him to be immune at the start, especially when you're using him against APEP. You want him to be immune so that when he assists or when he attacks and whatever, right, he's not going to receive poison stacks. But actually then again, at R0, it really don't make sense, because if he's going to use his third skill at the start, yes, that's going to protect him from poison stacks on APEP, but then again, when he starts assisting, he's going to blow up. So yeah, I don't really think this is that worth it in my opinion. Anyway, at R2, you can definitely build him with the War and the Light set. Perfect build for APEP and Chronos. Now, in PvP, I think this is gonna be like my favorite set. War set and Light set. Perfect. Or I mean, you can also go War and Fiery, that works as well if you're running a very fast Clara. But for the most part, if your first Esper is not someone who can grant you like at least one turn of immunity, for example, you're using a Tia instead, then it's extremely important that your Brewster has the Light set at the start, because when he assists, he can get himself frozen at times. Alright, so anyway, these are the two espers. We have Javid, we have Brewster. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And like I said, if you want to have access to these Excel sheets, please use the link down in the description below and download a copy for yourself. You can adjust any of the numbers here, but primarily is because that allows you to uncheck and check some of these boxes, which will affect the esper ratings over here. Alright, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now that said, it has been very free to play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.